Hello, and welcome to the November 5th. It's Sunday evening. The New York Knickerbockers just whooped the Indiana Pacers. Well, kind of. I don't know. They came from behind. We were kind of ready to give up, and the Knicks showed that they're the best team in basketball. So we'll talk about that a little more. But we're talking Knicks.
Let's go Knicks.
All right, so today I am joined by the brothers Doom and Gloom, Greg and Ken Poon. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jake. It's good to be back. We were just talking. Me and you last week on last week's podcast, we predicted a 3-1 week, and it happened. I know I was saying I'm ready for the Knicks to just be a playoff team, but you weren't ready for that. But now that after the 3-1 week, I think everybody's ready.
We're basically, I don't know. Buy lotto tickets. I don't know. We've got this whole thing figured out. Ken, bring us back down to earth or something. What's that?
We're over 500, right? We're over 500.
I know.
So, we're probably going to the playoffs. Cleveland's, they're gone. They're losing to the Hawks. I don't even know what's happening there.
That's sorry.
Times are good, is all I'm saying.
Times
Greg and I were just at a party, My older brother. Yeah, my older brother popped the big question. I asked his girlfriend if she wanted to go to Applebee's. This podcast brought to you by Applebee's, by the way.
Yep.
So, things are going good.
I found a whole rat in my Cobb salad.
Jake.
Yes.
Rob got engaged today. Did you know?
No, I'm just finding that out. I put that together with the Applebee's thing.
Because he did actually say, he got down on knee and said, "Do you want to go to Applebee's later?" And then he's like, "No, I'm kidding."
That's pretty good.
It's the best joke we ever pull.
That's the perfect proposal.
Let's talk Knicks.
No, let's keep on that. No, we'll circle back. I was actually fellow correspondent Tom Piccolo, not on the show today. I was kind of hoping he was going to be here to keep us in check, but now that he's not, let's just let the wheels off.
All right, I got an idea.
Yes.
Jake, you talk Knicks. Kenny, you talk engagement. And I'm talking Stranger Things.
Stranger Things podcast.
Let's do it.
It's a 3-in-1 podcast today, folks.
Perfect.
But we'll try out the Knicks thing a little more.
Have we made the Frank Nitti 11 memes yet? Are those going out?
I haven't. I think we should.
All right, we'll get on that.
It would be disrespectful to Frank because he's more powerful. But let's go back. We'll look at the week that was. We had 4 games this week, like Greg mentioned. we were joking before the podcast that the Nuggets game was the pivot game because the Nuggets are a good team. They're coming to the Garden. They're a solid team, I should say. And we said, if they win that game, they're probably losing to the Rockets, but you think they're going to get the Suns game. And then all this Knicks excitement we're talking about, and it played out exactly that way. They get the W against the Pacers. They're 5-4. You probably won't hear a more excited podcast about a 5-4 basketball team. I sent out some notes before this. I mean, the thing that jumps out in the 3 wins, KP went for 38, 37, and 40. I mean, it's kind of out of control. It's awesome. That's what I'll feed you guys with. It's awesome.
After tonight, he's officially averaging over 30. So, he's the real thing right now, and it's looking great. And it's an exciting time to be a Knicks fan. Now, that being said, the Suns and the Pacers, not that great. Nuggets could be good. So, I'm just trying to take us back down to earth like Tom would.
The Pacers looked good that first half. They're 5-4 coming into this game, and I was thinking they looked pretty legit in that first half. And I mean, I guess the Knicks are just a little bit legitter.
Yeah, I'm saying. Jake was saying it in a lot of basketball podcast. Same channel if you're listening, you can check that out. But Domantas Sabonis, he looked legit. Like he was. And I think Greg mentioned it too in a lot of basketball podcasts. They were just throwing it to him down low, and he was, he had post moves and was just scoring. And as opposed to what Oklahoma City did with him, was just park him on the 3-point line and hope that Russ passed it to him. But he looked good. He looked a lot like every player that the Knicks had, just getting the ball down the post and doing post moves and scoring.
Yeah, I got a couple things to say about the announcers today. So
Sure.
Sabonis was balling, and Clyde Frazier was like, this guy looks good. I mean, there was times I saw him last year on the Thunder, and I was like, why is this guy in the starting lineup? He said that, and I was like, that's pretty funny. And then the other thing, Mike Breen, back to Porzingis. Mike Breen, there was one time when Porzingis just did like a turnaround, step through, finger roll early in the first half or sometime in the first half, and he said that's a play that he couldn't do last year. And you see a lot of those from Porzingis. He is a lot stronger and he is a lot more talented. Last year when he tried to bank shots, they didn't go into the hoop. They were just like, oh my God. And when you try to bank a shot and it doesn't go in, it is horrible to watch. Yeah. But Porzingis looks good.
He's again, the 3 wins this week, he's averaging 38 plus, which is crazy. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole circle, but Google, YouTube the Stephen A. clips when they drafted Porzingis and the things he was saying, and now we've got this freak of nature that's you don't know where the limit ends because you've never seen anything like this. So I don't know. I guess the other 2 notes that I kind of had, which I thought these were kind of dumb at first. Well, I've got a couple dumb ones that I'll just get out. Well, the Nuggets win. Kyle O'Quinn went for 15 and 12 in 21 minutes. He's a beast when he's right.
He's a psycho, and I love it.
We're gonna talk more about him later. Frank Nitti showed some flashes tonight. I'd love to hear you guys talk about Frank a little bit, just instant reaction and especially what he did tonight. Finished with 10 and 7 in 24 minutes.
So I'm going to go back to the preseason Talking Knicks podcast when I said, I don't want you guys jumping on my bandwagon when this guy hits it big. And I said his floor was a 3-and-D player. And tonight he played great D and he had 2 big threes. So, I don't want to say I'm clairvoyant, but there's something there. I think Greg mentioned in a previous podcast, sometimes he still looks like, a rookie in that, whatever the play is, he's going to run it. And, sometimes, and that's to be expected from a 19-year-old rookie. So like, I'm not worried about that. And I'm just really excited that, he's well ahead of where I anticipated as a passer. And that was our question coming into the season. Can he be a point guard? And his passing ability has just been, phenomenal. Like you said, 7 assists tonight. He had an 8-assist game earlier this week, I think. It's good to see, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and to go off that being predictable, running the play, he did that with 40 seconds left on that second-to-last Knicks possession or third-to-last Knicks possession when he ran the high pick and roll with Porzingis, and then he was just like, all right, Porzingis is the man on this team. I got to give it to him. But Collison had already just been like, this guy's about to pass the ball to Porzingis, so we just took it. Luckily, we were right up 5 at that point, so it wasn't like damning, but that could be bad. That would have been bad otherwise. And then just he hit that first 3 in the fourth quarter, and then he got another. He missed it, and you were like, oh, I mean, that makes sense that he missed it. But then, I don't know, 1 or 2 possessions later, they went back to him for another 3, and he still had it in him to shoot it. I mean, he wasn't being shy, which was great to see. You'd think a lot of rookies, after missing a big 3 just like that, would be scared to shoot another big 3 in that moment. I think the game was tied right at that point when he shot that one. And so that gave us a 3-point lead. So it's great to see him ready to shoot and ready to ball out.
Yeah, his skill set is just fun, and I mentioned it kind of last week. We didn't really know what we were going to see this year from the 19-year-old French kid, and there's such a skill set, and that's equally exciting what Porzingis is doing. It really is, and we're going to deep dive on Frank a little more later, so we'll circle back to it. But let's get into our layup lines. I know we're already grooving, but you still got to make the bunnies, babe. The first thing, and I was actually going to circle this back to the Suns game, was and again, it is the Phoenix Suns. They had limited options. Booker did his thing. Everyone else was pretty terrible. But the defense looked good, and I mean, we'll build on it. Frank, for a young player, is playing good D. But the defense looked pretty serviceable this week. I mean, we got straight up beat by the Rockets, which is fine. But I don't know. This is going to sound like a stupid statement, but you got to outscore the other team if you're winning. They're doing that, and I don't know. We saw a little bit of Lance Thomas tonight, and I don't know. There was just moments during the Suns game. It was Knicks basketball I hadn't seen, and this is going to sound obnoxious, but I'll say it, that we haven't seen since that 2-seed team. Like the defense looked like a passionate defense that was feeding off the crowd and like getting in the other team's head. So that's
yeah. The defense did look good, better against the Suns. And then in the fourth quarter today, it looked great. First half, not so much. Cantor against the pick and roll was really struggling early, but in the second half, when it was him and Frank running the defending the pick and roll, it got a lot better. So hopefully they found something there to figure it out. And then Lance Thomas just played great D on Oladipo that entire fourth quarter. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, and building on everything you're saying, the bigs, Cantor in particular, like his problem has never been effort, and he's going to go out there and he's going to give a lot of effort. And Kyle O'Quinn is going out there and giving a lot of effort. Cantor's problem was that he had no idea what he was doing on defense, and it looks like he's not 100% there where he's always doing the right thing, but a lot of the times he's getting his hand up, he's going vertical, and he's doing much better than I was expecting from him. And Kyle O'Quinn has just been, like you said, a beast, just attacking the boards and blocking shots and getting after everything and bringing a lot of energy. And I think that feeds to the rest of the team to the extent those two guys are going crazy. Like the rest of the team just has to match their effort, which they've been doing.
Kyle O'Quinn is just that great. Like you don't want to give him the Charles Oakley torch, but he's just this big dude who comes in and plays mean, and he's from New York. He's been killing it, and that's we're gonna have the Knicks big guy talk because everyone's been having it. But before we go there, I also want to say, and I kind of missed it before, and Ken, I'm gonna feed it to you. I wasn't even gonna mention this in the layup line, but he's your boy. The only highlight from the Rockets game was Dame Dot.
Dame. Yeah. I don't know if I've thrown this out there on the pod yet, but I know I've mentioned it to you guys. I think I have dreams of him being a Danny Green type where he's just hitting shots and playing D. And he is a lot more athletic than I realized. Like I think it was both the Nuggets game and the Rockets game, he got a few minutes. In the Nuggets game, he got in, and I think he got like 5 rebounds in the 3 minutes that he played, which was great. And the Rockets game, he had a stutter step in transition, made the defender fall and hit the J in his face. And it was just like, what is this? This is awesome. We should do this all the time.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see. I'm not ready to anoint him as a Danny Green type yet. I would love it.
It's a dream. I said it's a dream.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see where he gets minutes on this team. Like he ended up with 17 minutes in the Rockets game and went 4 for 5. And like you said, he had 5 rebounds in his 6 minutes in the Nuggets game. And it just, I guess what you like about it is when he's been coming in, he's playing with that like rookie kind of hair on fire mentality. Like he doesn't know when his next minute's coming, so he's just going for it. So that was our little Dame Dot shout out. The other thing I had in the layup line was still Jarrett Jack. The dude had 10 assists one game this week. We love Frank and he's the future and all this, but man, just I feel like I could end up saying it every episode, but Jarrett Jack has been a blessing.
So I don't know if you guys were listening to it, but after the Nuggets game, they were asking Wally Zerbiak what Jarrett Jack was doing that was so good and it was helping the team so much. And I think he's got to be a Talking Knicks listener because his response was he's just giving it to KP. He's just giving it to the good players and like not doing anything stupid. And That's what we've been saying since day one, is what they need from a point guard is someone to just not do stupid stuff and give the ball to our best players. And he's doing it. And, I'll let Greg talk about it, but he's been swagging it up too. And I love that as well.
Yeah, he's been swagging against the Suns. He was passing the ball to the open man. He passed it to Hardaway, and he passed it to McDermott once. He just started celebrating, and they both missed, which was sad. But then he passes to someone else and started celebrating, and they hit it, which was good. And it's good to have team swag. Oh, it was the Porzingis dunk. That's what the swag was. It wasn't a three. He did the spin away pass, and he dunked it. And everyone was like, "Damn!" People were impressed with the Porzingis dunk, but they're like, "Damn, Jarrett Jack is swagging on him." And then Jarrett Jack, I mean, his shooting tonight against the Pacers was good. Other than he took one pull-up three, which it seems to be a thing that he does every game. He's like, all right, I'll take one pull-up three. I'm doing pretty good. They can't get too mad at me. Look at the other guys on the bench. What are they going to do, pull me? So he does that. He just takes that one shot. But he was finishing layups and driving today. 4 for 6
Behind the
from
back
the field.
passes.
Yeah, he was 4 for 6 today, which with some good finishing at the rim. So that was encouraging. I mean, I've wanted to see him score more, and 8 points tonight is more, and that's good enough for me. If he's able to do what he's been doing and score 7 or 8 points a game, that's great.
And like I prefaced this show with, you won't find guys more excited about a 5-4 basketball team with a 34-year-old washed-up point guard averaging 4, 6, and 4, and talking about how he's borderline saved the season. But no, it's one of those. If you look at the stats, you're saying, okay, that's what I expected from Jarrett Jack. I mean, if you watch the games, he's an impactful part of the team, which has really been awesome. I know he's been banged up a couple years. Before his last injury, his years in Brooklyn, he was, over 32 games in 15-16, he was a 13 and 7.5 assist guy. So when he's balling right, it looks pretty good. I like what Greg mentioned. There has been 1 or 2 shots a game. You're like, oh, easy, Jarrett. Okay, we like what you're doing, but leave that for the other guys. But yeah, if your name is Jack Strobel, listener to the show, buy a Jarrett Jack jersey. It's a need, not a want. All the proceeds don't go to us. I don't know, but those are pretty much the layups today. So for the mid-range floater, kind of the popular topics that we're starting to flow, and I think. I mean, they're big situations. We've already touched on this one, but man, Frank Nitti, French Sinatra, whatever you want to call him.
French Prince.
The Fresh Prince of – is there end to that? The Fresh Prince of the Garden, something like that?
No, it's the French Prince.
The French Prince of Madison Square.
Okay, Madison Square. That was the part I was missing.
Yeah.
Man, he's I talked about the skill set. The dude is showing he's got a pretty fluid shot, and he's making them at a decent clip so far. He, like you said, 7 assists tonight. I mean, I wanted to see what I've seen in the past week. I was hoping to see those moments from him over the season. That's a very sincere statement, which is wild. And I preached about it for about 60 minutes last time, but with Jarrett Jack doing the old man role and Frank Nitti being the young bull, it's been so delightful. I'm not going to be mean to Baker Sessions, but man, I mean, it's been absolute night and day.
Yeah, and to talk about Frank's defense, I didn't think he would be this good at defense. He's a rookie. Rookies aren't this good at defense this early. And he's been really, really good on defense. And it hasn't been like Shumpert. When he was a rookie, he was also really good on defense, but he doesn't look like Shumpert playing defense at all. where Shumpert was like pressing up on his man. Frank's really just using his length to guard people, and he looks like he's going to be able to do that forever. Whereas Shumpert has fallen off as a defender because I don't know, he tore his ACL and he's like can't do what he used to do. But Frank just has the frame that he's using. He's not using like super athleticism or anything. He just knows he's just playing defense the right way.
Yeah, and there was that moment at the end, I think it was the third quarter in the Rockets game, where he just really excited the Garden crowd, just guarding James Harden one-on-one. And, he used that length and he made Harden lose the ball. And then, like, Harden ultimately shot an air ball at the end of the half and at the end of the court, and everyone just kind of went crazy. And, like, throughout that game, you saw it because he was on Harden for, a lot of his minutes. And he took his cookies, like, one or two times. And it's just like, that guy probably should have won MVP last year. Like, you're a rookie. What are you doing, man? But, like, it's, it's great to see. And it's something that New York hasn't had in a while.
Yeah, so if you really think about it, we kind of went 4-0 this week because that play against Harden was a win in of itself.
Right. Knicks 4-0 week, first reported here. Yeah, I'm in the stats. Man, he had 3 steals tonight, 5 steals against Houston, 2 against Denver. He didn't have 1 against Phoenix. He had 2 against Cleveland the game before that. I mean,
leading all rookies in steals.
Rookies, especially point guards, usually get abused, and this guy's playing solid, which really, again, when you're talking about someone this young, you're thinking about skill set, right? And I mean, what the line from 40-year-old virgin, I think what's he say? Extrapolate that. Like that's what we're doing right now. Like we're seeing a dude who can shoot, who can pass, who can play defense. I mean, I guess what do we want? What do we want to see more of? I know we've talked a little bit. We haven't seen him go to the 10 too much. That's also a body development thing. But what else?
Yeah, he finished the layup against the Suns, which was good. But I mean, I'll stick with driving, maybe the mid-range jumper. But I don't know. What do you think, Ken?
I mean, I got a few things on my list, and it's a weird feeling because, like, I don't think that there's ever been this situation where you have a rookie developing and everyone's just so excited that we're just kind of like not really worried about the mistakes because he's 19-year-old. So, like,
Ken, other teams have had this. We haven't had this.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, is this what it's like to be a Sixers fan at all times? Like, you can just go out there and be terrible or like not play an entire season, no one cares. Like, that must be great. But Frank's out there. He had some foul trouble early on, and I think that's just a part of learning the speed of the NBA. And then, like, kind of like we said earlier, there's some times where he just tries to go with the play rather than if he sees an opening. I know he passed up a couple like wide open layups just trying to pass to people today. And I was like, those are they're mistakes that you don't want to see, but it's something that you kind of expect from a 19-year-old rookie. But he's still got a lot of good things out there that he's showing that it's easy for us to just kind of overlook that, and I'm happy to, because why would I worry about the bad stuff?
Yeah, second youngest player in the league. Also, that's good for us.
Well, who's the first youngest? I'm blanking on it. I saw them play a week.
Bam?
No, it's
Bam.
OG. I think
OG.
No, it's
yeah.
Ike. No, it's Ike.
OG. Bam.
Right.
Ike.
Right.
One of those
the
guys.
Pacers. They were talking about it during the game today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man. I've got a one-liner I'm going to save at the end of the show. Remind me if I forget. It's to bring down the house. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm going to do your job for you.
Yes, thank you. So the other thing that so part of this is the bigger topic, and we were getting a lot of comments on this on Twitter. I think it's almost time to deep dive on it. The other thing that I want to get in that's leading up to this is, man, the role players are fitting their roles perfectly. There's your hot take, everyone. Go take that, Kellerman. But no, it's like, in a series, I was going through the box scores this week, and I mean, Doug is he's coming in, he's being an offensive threat of sorts. He had a huge throwdown this week, which we love, obviously. Lance Thomas is starting to find a niche. What if I told you Lance Thomas was plus 23 in tonight's game in 17 minutes?
That's pretty good.
Best on the team. Man, really weird plus minuses if you look at tonight's box score. Canner plus 20, Porzingis plus 20, Lance Thomas plus 23, and then what do we got? Tim Hardaway Jr. is -1. And after that, there's a bunch of minuses. I mean, NBA game of streaks, and those numbers can look like that. But you go down the lineup. A Cantor, Jarrett Jack. I've said everything about.
We got to talk about Courtney Lee at some point.
Dougie Fresh, Courtney Lee. I guess he's the one that seemed. Man, he hasn't looked like. I don't know. For me, he hasn't looked like as good as he has been in the past. I don't know. I mean, he's 32. This team looks a lot different than the other team, and maybe he's the only piece that's not really finding his role. But to be honest, a lot of his numbers, they're on with his career stuff. He's usually like a 10-point-a-game guy, plays some solid D.
He's shooting 42% from three, and it's like, here's what was crazy to me. I was thinking about it earlier this week. Is like last year, Courtney Lee was our second or third best player on any given night, and now he's just like completely lost in the shuffle. Like, what does that tell you about this team? Like, Courtney Lee was the guy when Melo was out and like KP wasn't playing well. He was the guy that would get the ball down the stretch and just like do stuff. It's like, what happened?
Courtney Lee is, like Jake said, he's still doing the same thing that he's been doing. I think the only thing is that he dropped down. Now he's behind Porzingis, Cantor, and Hardaway. And so he's not doing anything bad. He hasn't looked bad at any point, I don't think. He's not sticking out. But he's a role player, and I think he's filling that role.
I'm not saying he's playing bad. I think he's playing great. He's playing solid D. It's not kind of up to his standards that he's played in the past, but like Jake said, he's 32 years old. But he's shooting 42% from three and playing solid D. And like, it's just, this is what they brought him in to be a role player on a team with Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony. But instead, he's being that, exactly what they were hoping for, except it's with Kristaps Porzingis and Enes Kanter and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, he kind of got lit up by Booker, but Booker's pretty legit.
Booker's good.
He wasn't getting any help. I don't know if you guys saw, he was just screaming at Enes Kanter at one point, like, "What? Help me! This guy is so good. I need help." This guy, he's already got 30 or something. But I mean, Courtney Lee, good in my book. Keep it up.
Good in my book.
Kanter.
Yeah,
keep doing what you did in the fourth quarter, Kanter.
Yeah, and this is the big topic amongst not even role players, but just, the conversation's turned a little bit on this team. Like, it was almost like, let's be as bad as we can, and then it's like, okay, well, let's kind of see what these guys get. Still kind of want the pick, but the kind of another big part of what's making this situation happen is Kyle O'Quinn. These stats are making me crack up a little bit because, again, when you're watching, it looks a lot different. Kyle O'Quinn's averaging 6 and 6 on the season, but man, he looks like there's times when he looks borderline possessed out there, and he plays like a big mean 4-5, but he can also stretch it a little bit on offense. He dropped some dimes too this week, and so the elephant or the other role player, I guess, who's not getting in is Kyle O'Quinn. Or excuse me, just talked about Kyle O'Quinn. It's Will Bill Hernan Gomez. He's not getting the consistent minutes. We were told he's a part of the future. I mean, he was a top 3 guy you were kind of excited to see this year for the Knicks, and now we're not. And I'll let you guys figure out where you want to draw the line, whether it's this year or not. But, Kanter has been my OKC buddy said it. He's a great regular season player. He in the postseason, if you get him on the wrong guy offensively, you're screwed. But man, he's been so fun to watch, and obviously contracts and stuff are a factor. How do we see this playing out the rest of the year, and maybe a little bit of the taste of how you think the whole thing sorts out?
Yeah, I mean it's tough with Noah coming back as well. I know we've been talking about that, but at this point, I think the reason Hornacek is playing Kylo Quinn is because he's better than Hernan Gomez, and it makes sense. Kylo Quinn is very good, is a very good backup center. And we thought that last year. The Knicks wanted a first-round pick for him last year at the deadline. They didn't deal him because nobody wanted to give that up. But he's been a good backup center. He energizes, which doesn't show up in the stat book, but he's a good guy to have around your team. He's a New York guy. He's just good personality. Gives it 100% on the floor every night, and like that, he blocked Tyler Ulis against the Suns, and then just started screaming, and that gets the Garden going too. And it's just a good guy to have on your team, so it makes it tough to put in Billy, but maybe long term, it's probably Billy based on the contract situation with Kylo Quinn as a player option for next year. That I don't know. I would guess he declines because it's only for like $4 million. But the market nowadays is just like you can either make $10 million or you can make the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my whole thing is the Knicks are in a weird spot right now, right? Because everyone was expecting them to be bad. And I think their plan going into the season was to showcase these players and just trade them. But now it's like they're winning, so like you can't just go out there and trade a guy that's like killing it while you're winning in order to lose more games because it looks terrible. Like Greg said, Kylo Quinn has a player option for next year. Maybe the Knicks do what the Yanks did with Aroldis Chapman. They just trade him and then he comes back. That's my dream.
I like that.
But the thing is, like, Cantor is good. Like people question him because he has such a big contract, and he's got 2 years left on it. But if he had a contract that was a little longer, they might like think about keeping him over Billy. But Billy's got an extra year on a much better contract, so like I don't know. Like there's a possibility that Cantor, if they keep him, he plays well for the next 2 years, and then he just leaves in the middle of like when they're getting ready to start to compete. Whereas Billy can, they have for an extra year. So I think not because of any player situation, the way anyone's playing, but Billy's got to be the one that they focus on keeping.
Yeah, and to go off with Cantor's contract, it's funny when you look at a player's contract, then you look at their production, and like you said, people will say like Cantor's not that good because of his contract, but then I'm going to get into a little bit around the league right now, but with like a guy like Jay Crowder, I talked to my Celtics friends and to my Cavs friends, and they say Jay Crowder is one of those guys his contract is like it was signed before and is so small nowadays that he kind of gets overrated because he makes that little money. They say, oh, this guy's one of the biggest steals in the league. So you think he's like really good, but he's like, maybe he should be making $4 million more. He's a $10 million player for $6 million. Whereas Cantor, you got, I don't know, $14 million player for $18 million. So thinking about the contract and the player it makes it a little difficult.
It is funny, right? It was a big thing doing Talking Yanks this year. Ellsbury would get a ton of hate because he was the fourth outfielder making huge money. And, he would do well, and people were still pissed off because he's not the all-star player that the Yanks, when they signed him, they wanted to be. So that expectation is crazy because it's skewed from the start, right? You don't even form your own opinion. If you saw Cantor play a game and Jay Crowder play a game, and you didn't know anything about the contracts, you could be saying Cantor deserves more, but It's not how it works. That perception's funny.
Yeah, I mean, Cantor's only 25, so he fits within their age bracket in terms of what he's doing. Like Billy's a few years younger, but he's within that range where they could go in that direction and keep him, and then have him in his late 20s when Kristaps is hitting his prime. But because of that contract, because he only has 2 years, Billy has 3. I don't know how they're going to figure that out, but I think it's going to favor Billy. Also, Billy, boys with KP, played together in Sevilla. So that can't be underestimated.
If you two had to place a bet today that when Cantor's contract's up in 2 seasons, right? So this year, next year, and then he's a free agent. If you had to bet that 3rd season if Cantor was going to be a Knick, yay or nay?
I bet
yes.
I would say yes.
I'd say yeah, and I'd say if he makes it that far, then yes. I think Kyle O'Quinn's going to end up being the odd man out, to be honest. And Joakim Noah, I don't think they care that he makes $20 million. I think he's just going to sit on the end of the bench. So once Kyle O'Quinn is gone, again, I think just because of the contract situation, he's going to be the odd man out. I think that's going to clear some room for Billy to play a few more minutes, and then maybe they don't need to move Cantor. And then if they still want to move Cantor next season, he's an expiring contract, so still possible. But once they clear out that logjam, I think they're going to have a few extra minutes to go around, and Cantor and Billy could possibly coexist.
Yeah, and I got to retract my yes answer because I'm basing it off of the 5-4 start this year, assuming that this is the playoff team. So, I mean, if it keeps going good, we could keep him around. I'd say Joakim Noah won't be on the team that 3rd year. That'll be the final year of his deal, and he'll either get cut and they'll just pay out his final year over 3 years, or he'll get traded somehow because he'll be an expiring deal. So then you'll have. I mean, O'Quinn will be up after that, after those 2 years anyway. So you'd have Cantor and Willie, and Willie's only making like less than $2 million for that last year. So you could afford to play Cantor a lot.
I've had Joakim Noah penciled in as a player coach for about through midway last season because like the young guys like him. You feel like he still knows how to play, but you watch him sometime and you're like, why does your jump shot look like that? But we'll have. I bet Joakim Noah has a couple good games this year, right?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think that other than it hurts to watch him play offense. He misses layups. Right. I mean, and when you're missing layups, you don't appreciate the passes that he's making because you're like, this guy can't even make a layup, get him off the court. But I mean, other than his inability to shoot free throws and make a layup, which you expect from a basketball player, I think he's good. So it's like a Roberson thing where like he can't make a shot at all. So I automatically think he's the worst player, but his defense is actually elite. But Noah's defense isn't elite. He's just okay at everything else.
I don't think he's going to play at all. Like people are giving the Knicks flack because they're playing old guys, but those old guys are Sessions and Jack, and their only other option at that position is their 19-year-old rookie, and they can't play him all of the minutes. Although they tried tonight, played him down the end of the stretch. But like Courtney Lee's a little older, but they'd have to play one of those other guys at 2 if they're not going to play Courtney Lee. At the 5 and 4, they have plenty of young players who they're going to play more. So I just don't see Joakim Noah really getting that many minutes.
Greg mentioned it. Hornacek is playing to win this year. It's not in his contract to rebuild. He's trying to win games. So it's going to be interesting to see if Joakim Noah has a couple good games where when this guy's right, he fits on this kind of team, right? He runs the court. He plays good defense. He's an emotional player. He's actually one of the best passing big men. People forget because it's so ugly to watch him shoot, and he's been hurt. Yeah. But, I mean, this guy had seasons where he averaged 5+ assists from the center position. So, something to watch when Noah comes back. I don't know if it's exciting or not, but something to watch.
Yeah, and I think he might fit better down the stretch with his defense. And not needing an offensive weapon like Cantor when you have Porzingis, if you have Frank making shots, and if you have Hardaway finally able to come around, then you would want like a defense first option, whereas Cantor is an offensive first option, and we were saying he was horrible on defense in the first half today, and we were thankful for what he did in the fourth quarter. But hopefully that stays around. But like your OKC friend says, maybe the defense isn't going to stick around for Cantor.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that was the most popular conversation around Nick Nation this week, just because
and who's going to get cut is another the next question.
Right, and there's some of the cheese rumors. I think we'll save that for when it happens. I don't think I don't think our guesses would even help that rumor mill. And we just had this, 10, 20 minute, and was that 3 hours we were talking about the Knicks big men? And the whole reason that this situation is relevant or even an issue right now is our dagger this week, man. Kristaps Porzingis. I just talked about Joakim Noah's past highlights. When we've got this dude who's he's going for 40 every night. We've mentioned the Mamba mentality. He actually has that, which I don't know. Again, you have this 7-3 unicorn thought process going through your head, and then you think about the way he's attacking dudes, and he looks. I was going to say MVP, but that's
no, he does.
Right now, he's in there. Right now, 9 games, he's in there.
But he's been. There's all this room. I'm coming in the season we didn't know. He never, Carmelo Anthony's Carmelo Anthony. He drew a good defender. Kristaps kind of had to earn his keep a little bit, and he definitely did. But he was going to be the number one option on again. You said it. Kristaps was going to be the number one option on a team that their number 2 option last year was Courtney Lee. So we knew Kristaps was going to get the whole kitchen sink. He's the one player that people really know about New York. I mean, have we fully changed the Knicks season expectations mostly because of him? And where do we think this ends up? I mean, even if he ends up a top 5 MVP candidate, I mean, that would still be nobody really expected that.
So I'm gonna just say my expectations for this season. I still don't think we're 5-4 or whatever we are right now. We've beat a lot of bad teams. Who's the best team we beat? Cleveland, who just lost to the Hawks tonight and are playing just terribly on the season.
Yeah, the conference champions. Ken, come on.
Yeah.
We caught them at the right time because they're playing just terribly. And then, the Nuggets are, everyone's thinking they're going to be a good team, but they've been hot and cold to start the season. We caught them at a cold night. So, I think we need to temper the expectations a little bit. I think we're a lot better than most people thought going in, but I still don't think we're at best challenging for that 8 seed. So we need to temper that expectation. But again, to get back onto the bright point, which is KP, he is killing it. And I have to wonder what, Phil Jackson is doing thinking at home, watching KP just hit mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper over his defender. It's where was this last year, man? But it's great to see him just shooting over people, and he is trying to dunk on absolutely everyone. And this week he caught 2 ridiculous alley-oops that when the pass went up, I'm like, there's no way he's gonna catch that. That's going over the backboard, and he just grabbed it and yammed it. So this guy is the unicorn. He's special, and it's very exciting to watch.
I'll push back on Kenny telling us to temper expectations.
Thank you.
Well, let's make the playoffs. Let's do it. The thing about Porzingis has been going off. Maybe he can't keep it up, but Tim Hardaway Jr. has been bad. He's not been making shots.
I got thoughts on Timmy if you want me to throw him out now.
No, I'll probably just keep talking about what I was talking about. But
All right.
so Tim Hardaway
Brothers.
Jr. has just been he just misses wide open shots that he should be making, like that he gets paid to make. Tonight, he's just 1 for 7 from three. The other day, he was 3 for 11 from three. He's our shooter. I mean, both of those games, he ended up doing pretty well. 21 or 23 last game, 16 tonight. And he was missing like open threes last game, but then he makes the most ridiculous drives, and you're like, how? Well, first of all, why did you shoot that? Second of all, how did that go in? And like he needs to get more. There was one streak. It might have been last week when I don't know. He had like 0 points or 2 points the entire game, and then he just scored 8 in a row. He just hit 2 threes, and he drove to the basket, and then you just saw that he was like an angry person who knew that he was good at basketball. We need that mentality from him, and if he starts contributing, even if KP, I don't know, has an off night and scores 20, we got another guy who can put up 30. I mean, he's just missing wide open shots, and also if McBucket starts making threes, he's our other shooter. He's been missing. I don't think we're shooting very well from three. I'm not going to look at the stats, but if you just watch the game, the shooters aren't making wide open three-pointers. And so if we get that, KP keeps it up, I guess we'll probably win the championship. I think.
Definitely.
Bingo.
Yeah. I mean, I'll listen to Kenny talk about THJ now.
What do you got, Ken?
So I just have, I started wondering it tonight, but like, is this who THJ is? Because like, if you take out the first 3 games and look at his stats, like for the last 5, I think it is, like they're pretty similar to his career stats as far as shooting and things. So is he just a guy that like will launch a bunch of shots and just miss them, and then all of a sudden he'll score like 10 points in a 3-minute period, and then like his stats even out over time? Like I haven't seen him since he left the Knicks much, like a few times a season against the Hawks, but I'm thinking just based on the stats, maybe this is just who he is. Like, please someone tell me I'm wrong, because like I'm hoping not, because I hate watching it.
His percentages on the year are still below his averages. I think he's shot 35% from three in the past. He's shooting 32%. He's shooting 38% from the field this year. I know he came out and was just atrocious, and you kind of have to throw those away. But
I don't have him in front of me, but I looked at his stats from just the last 5 games, and they're, his 3-point percentage is actually up a tick in the last 5 games versus his career number, or his last season's numbers, and his 2-point field goal percentage is down a little bit. But other than that, they're pretty similar numbers. So like, I just don't know if that's just who he is.
But yeah, his sorry, Greg, I do have the stats. I'm not supposed to be the stats guy, guys. The past 5, he's 35 minutes, 47% from the field, which is a little higher than his stuff, but he's developing. 35% from three, kind of his average. And over the past 5, he's averaging 21, 4, and 4. And I guess my note as I passed it to Greg is, Tim Hardaway Jr. is averaging 16, 3, and 3, and it still feels like he's leaving a lot out there.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said before, he's just missing wide open shots. And you'd think, even if that's who he's been in the past, he's never been the number 2 option. So that just needs to be practice. You just practice, and then he'll just start hitting that shots. Because if he's going to be the number 2 option, he's going to have to be making not wide open shots. And if he can't make the wide open shots, then we're going to have problems. So, like I said, he was making the heavily contested shots and missing the wide open shots today. So he's an interesting character. I think, like we say, or this is going to be something that we're going to say now and again. Sometimes the ball doesn't go in. You could be a good shooter, ball doesn't go in.
Hot take.
I think he's good. I think he'll be good. I think the ball start falling more. I'm surprised he's shooting 47%, to be honest, because
the past 5.
All right, yeah, okay, yeah. It's been ugly. I think a lot of that was one game where he went off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm not supposed to be the stat guy, so I don't have this one, but I think in the article that Tom wrote, the Tim Hardaway article that you could probably find at a lot of basketball somewhere, I think he said that Tim Hardaway's finishing in the paint numbers towards the second half of last season were elite, which we're talking about some of his crazy finishes. That could be the dude's skill set. So I don't know.
Attacking rim well too.
16-3-3, and like Greg said, he's been missing the easy stuff. And to Ken's point, if the last 5 games is the sample size you want to use, this could be the 20-point per game shooting guard that we gave this contract to. And again, contract expectations and all that. I don't know. I think 16-3-3 is definitely, if you ask me an over-under for the year, end of the year, you're going to bet the over.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
All right. Well, that was the main chunk of the show. Really good stuff reviewing this past week. I loved it. Next week, and we'll start to talk about tempering our excitement, this, that, and the other. We got home versus Charlotte. Should be a good game. Shout out to Kemba, always our boy. At Orlando, who Kevin McGovern on a lot of basketball said they're a contender. And then we're home versus Sacto again. So I don't want to get the loonies going. Those are 3 winnable games.
Those are 3 winnable games. They mentioned the stat tonight on the Knicks game, but the leading scorer for Sacramento is De'Aaron Fox at 12.7 a game, which is bad. Like,
not good.
I don't even know. And this was a team that everyone was talking about, like, over the offseason, how well they did. They picked up some big veterans, Zach Randolph and Vince Carter, and they had a few rookies that they picked up, and De'Aaron Fox and Harry Giles maybe. But like, they just look bad. Like, I don't know, and again, I just don't know what's happening there.
And also the Magic game. The Magic lost to the Bulls by 22 earlier this week. Yeah. And the Bulls are very bad. And then today they lost to the Celtics by a good amount. So maybe they've come back to earth, and the Knicks are now leaving Earth. So we'll see you later, Magic.
That's not good. Hopefully we'll edit that. So I'm going to make this a twofold question and answered half of it. So I guess it's a one-hold question. I don't know. But when we were talking about the Knicks season before, Ken, you sound like if you see everything going right for the Knicks, you could see them in like the 8th spot. Yeah. Greg, you're being half sarcastic, but you're half buying into this.
No, I'm in the 8th spot as well.
Okay. Well, how about this?
I'd be pumped with the 8th spot.
If the Knicks, again, 3 winnable games, and this is just straight hype wagon, do you think that would change the expectation?
I don't. For me personally, just because we still haven't
think about it.
We haven't played anyone good. Like, we played 2 good teams who are playing terribly at the moment. So like, even if we win these 3 games, like, these aren't very good teams.
The East doesn't have good teams. That's the beauty of it.
We lost by like 30 to the Celtics.
They got lucky. Sometimes the ball doesn't go in.
That's nice.
That's true.
That's full circle.
That's what we'll say about every single loss.
That's good coaching.
Yeah, that's our 40th loss in a row. But sometimes it's not the team; it's just the ball.
That is true.
The thing that I will fuel the fire with, that I think makes it even different, and would make the Knicks. I think if they win the whole week 3-0, Nick talk is going up. People are going to start making home court playoff rumors, that kind of stuff. I guess the part that I think needs to be mentioned is the Knicks were so bad those first couple games with Baker and Sessions. Sorry. But like, I mean, those, what was it, 3 games almost seem like those
They
aren't
didn't
in my
happen.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're watching this team play now, that other team isn't even there. So
Yeah.
that makes it, instead of 8-4, it seems like they're 8-1. We're winning it. I don't know,
Listen,
guys.
I'll say this though, like 'cause I feel like Will having flashbacks to the upside down, but in that Houston game, like there were flashes of that team that got smashed those first 3 games. There were, I think, 3 or 4 times in the first half where they just like passed the ball out of bounds instead of to a player. So like it's still in there. We just got to keep it way deep down inside and never speak of it again.
Yeah, and you saw that against Knight when we were losing by 19 late in the third quarter. When I was like, hey, maybe we should start talking Knicks early because this isn't going well. And I don't know, maybe that one quarter. Should we base it off the one quarter, or should we base it off the 3 quarters before?
Yes.
Who knows? I think the answer is pretty obvious because we did a good job in the one quarter that mattered. So let's just disregard the 3 quarters prior.
I agree. All right, that's it.
So I got one last thing.
Yeah,
Not on there.
Is this your one statement?
It was my one-liner.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a one-liner or one statement, what it is. You mentioned he who shall not be named, Phil Jackson. I made the joke, I think a year and a half ago when Phil was doing terrible, and I still like wanted to defend him for some reason. I was joking that there's going to be a book written in a decade that's called Why Phil Jackson Won the Knicks the Championship. And it's because in my roots, I mean, he did so many terrible things. We could do a whole podcast on that. But at the end of the day, we could be looking back and saying, that dude got us Frank and Porzingis. Two guys that weren't sexy picks either. They weren't. A lot of people were yelling for a lot of other different names. So you mentioned him before. What's Phil doing? He's out in Montana, not caring about anything. But I'm thinking there could be a day when this dude's like, you guys all hated me. I was doing something right.
Yeah, but part of the reason they're doing well this year is because they have an actual NBA offense that works like in the era of analytics when people realize that 3 points are worth more than 2. So like while he did some good stuff, him being the driving factor, they couldn't win with him there. So like maybe it's good that we had him do that good stuff and then kicked him out, because if he was still here, we would still be terrible. And I'm 100% convinced of that.
Yeah. Phil did a good job drafting. Isaiah Thomas also did a good job drafting, to be honest. But there's more to a basketball team than drafting.
Yes.
So, yes, you did a good job picking the players. You did a bad job telling everyone that your best player was horrible and you didn't want him on your team.
And the Suns haven't learned from that.
Yeah, right?
Other thing I got to mention.
Final thoughts.
2 years ago, I think the Knicks were 21-21 or 22-22 before a 10-game losing streak that led to Derek Fisher being fired. Last year, the Knicks were 14-10 at one point, and all went downhill from there. But we're 5-4 this year, and it's only going to go up. I assume. I assume those 2 years are different for some reason.
And Greg kind of stealing a little bit of what I was going to say in my final thoughts, which was Derek Fisher's first year. I think he started maybe 1-0 or 2-0, and he had a winning season through like a winning record through the first few games. And I remember reading a network tweet that was like, "I'm ready to run through a wall for this guy. Like he's got it all. Like we got this."
Yeah.
And then it just turned out he was the worst coach in possibly NBA history, definitely Knicks history. They had the worst record ever under him, right? So,
thanks to Phil Jackson.
Fan.
Yeah,
thanks to Phil Jackson. 9 games fan.
Fans of the podcast. Yeah, guys, I think we kind of touched it all. Really good stuff. What do you got? Hit me.
I don't want to end on a bad on a negative note, so I just want to throw out again. KP, just slamming on everyone. The GOAT, the unicorn.
Thank you, Chris.
This is the future.
Thank you, Chris Stapps, for making this fun. Otherwise, we'd be talking about
Stranger Things.
Yeah, Stranger Things / Willie Hernan Gomez's hairdo. But we thank you guys for listening. Subscribe. A lot of basketball. We do the Talking Knicks to get out to you guys for Monday morning, and then we do a lot of basketball. We kind of talk around the whole league. So if you're into that. And we do some post-game write-ups, and follow us on Twitter, Talking Knicks. And that's for myself and the brothers Poon. We'll catch you guys next time.
Congrats, Rob.
Knicks.
Hey, good talk. We talked a lot of Knicks.
A lot of Knicks.